And we're live here. This is Jeff Quake. Alongside with me is Mike Witmer. Welcome to Light the Lamp podcast number 2.
Hello.
Hope you guys are doing well. We got quite a bit to talk about. The Flyers have been on a great win streak that ended when they lost to the Pittsburgh Penguins 4-1. We got a
Point streak.
Their point streak ended, I should say. Sorry. Thank you, Mike. And we got two things to mainly talk about that come away from that game. We'll get into those a little bit later. And then we had the Flyers. They had a nice comeback victory against the Minnesota Wild last night. That was a 5-4 final, I believe. And all around great game for the Flyers to keep fighting back and never giving up. Anthony Stolarz looked superb in that one. Another officiating mishap that we can get into. But other than that, as always, suspension around the league, some injuries here and there. And, so let's get right into it. Mike, what do we got first?
We got injuries just all around right now.
Yeah.
I guess we can start with the biggest one in David Pastrnak for the Boston Bruins.
Yes, he's out at least 2 weeks. He had a procedure done, actually, on his left thumb. As it was after like a team dinner or something like that. Pastrnak was going to his car or transportation, whatever he was taking, and he actually fell, and he hurt his thumb Sunday night. So he's out 2 weeks. Sweeney, their GM, said, "I'll have the specifics later, but feels comfortable in saying that in 2 weeks we'll have a much better timeline on what it's going to take. From a rehab standpoint, there's really nothing. He'll be able to skate within 10 days, so conditioning won't be an issue. Just a matter of the stitches and infection-wise to make sure he doesn't have any issues in that regard." So this kind of changes a lot for the Bruins, in my opinion, about the Bruins' approach for the deadline, because you have 12 days into the NHL trade deadline on February 25th. That's a Monday.
I don't think it changes it that much for them.
Right. No, I agree. I don't think it changes, like... All right, yeah, let me rephrase that then. I don't think it changes it entirely, like, enormous amount. It changes it a little bit. I think the Bruins, their plan... Because Pastrnak will... I'll put it this way. If this injury kept him out for at least 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, then that's a big issue. But the reason that they want to be able to figure this thing out sooner rather than later, because let's say they find out the day of the deadline, if not the day before that, oh no, he'll be out for another 2 weeks for some reason because of some setback, maybe. I'm just saying hypothetically. Right. Then that's where you got to worry. But, that's why you got to make sure you keep a close eye on it. I think Boston's still going to go after, a decent name here or there by the deadline, regardless of Pasternak's situation, just because
they're going to look for like a middle of the pack.
Yes, exactly. They need more depth, because there's a lot of teams out there that have depth.
They'd probably be one of the teams for Simmons too.
Yes, and I agree. I think Boston would be a great fit for Wayne Simmons, and unfortunately, but hey, if Boston can swing the right deal, I think that would benefit them greatly. And because my thing for Boston is, they've that top line of Bergeron, Pastrnak, and Marchand, and that's, obviously they got some other pieces, but that's their main focus. Kind of like with Colorado and McKinnon, Landeskog, and Rantanen. That's their biggest asset.
That's why all season you see who's the best line, and so it's between those two teams.
Exactly. So I think that Boston, they'll still go after, like you said, a middle of the pack player. So it will be interesting to see what happens there.
Just imagine if you would have gotten someone, kind of good out of those 3 picks in 2015.
Yeah.
Besides McAvoy, because that was 2015, right? They got him.
I believe so. Yes.
Is Backus hurt, or is he just not playing for them?
Backus?
Yeah.
I want to say he's been hurt so much
Yeah, he's hurt. Nope. No, he's not.
Not hurt. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything really. Okay. Well, that's good news for the Bruins just because he has unfortunately been a little injury prone throughout the past few years for some reason. Just not his luck. Some other injury updates. Sorry, go ahead.
He only has 13 points this season, 46 games, 5 goals, 8 assists.
That's rough. That is rough.
He put up 53 last season, or 33, sorry, last season. So his numbers are every year progressively gone down a little bit.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I think sooner
From 58 and 14-15 to 45 the next year, 38, 33, and 13 this year.
Yeah. Could be better, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Other updates around the league. Ryan Miller is not ready, according to Bob Murray. Oh, by the way, the Ducks, they fired Randy Carlyle.
Yes, they did.
And Bob Murray, who is their general manager, is going to be the head coach for the remainder of the season. When was the last time you saw that happen, where a GM was also the head coach?
I was about to say Carolina, but now they just did without a GM.
Yeah, I've never seen that before, I don't think. So that's just pretty wild right there. But yeah, also John Gibson is still not able to practice for the Ducks. So they're hurting for goaltending.
Not that he's really been that great this season. Well, he started off great, but kind of fallen off.
Yeah,
lately,
I agree.
Which is why they started off pretty well at the beginning of the season, because they played poorly, but they had good goaltending. Now they don't have the goaltending, and
and now they're just full on struggling even more.
Yeah.
Because taking a look at the standings really quickly for the Ducks, they are way, way, way towards the bottom.
Yep.
They're tied with the Kings for 51 points. So, in fact, they're like the third, fourth worst team in the entire league. So they're struggling greatly. Some other big injury news around the league. Casey Middlestat is day-to-day with a lower body injury for the Buffalo Sabres. The Stars, they have quite a bit of injury notes here. Ben Bishop, upper body.
What's a bottery?
Bottery.
What's bottery?
No clue. I'll have to look at.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, I don't know.
I'll get back to you on that one later.
Can one of your listeners look up
Bottery? Okay.
Yeah.
Ben Bishop with an upper body injury. Tyler Pitlick, wrist surgery. Martin Hansel, back issues. Mark Mathot, knee surgery. Stephen Johns, post-traumatic headache. So that honestly sounds like post-concussion syndrome right there.
Sounds like it could be like a pronger.
Yeah, that's not good. The Stars have to really keep an eye out on that.
Yep.
For the Panthers, Dmitry Kulikov has been out with an upper body injury. He practiced yesterday in a regular practice jersey. Paul Byron is not traveling with the team on their 3-game road trip. According to Claude Julien, the Canadians are hoping that they will get some good news on Byron when they get back on Monday. Here's a very bizarre one. Craig Anderson missed last night's game after taking a tennis ball to the eye yesterday. He is traveling with the team, but it's just obviously this happened off the ice, like when he was preparing for the game, but it's just that's just a bizarre one. Brian Elliott of the Flyers is heading to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms on a conditioning stint. He'll be there for probably a few games for sure, and then heading back up. To Philly, as the Flyers have Hart, Stolars, who played last night, Mike McKenna for now, and then McKenna will go back down to the AHL, I believe, when Ellie is ready.
I would think so. I don't know.
I'm not, but also Ali Mata is gone. Oli Mata has gone to the IR with an upper body injury. He'll be out indefinitely after.
That happened in a Flyers game.
It did. So that's a loss for them there. Eric Cernak for the Tampa Bay Lightning has a lower body injury day-to-day. Defenseman Jan Ruta has been recalled, and Matthew Joseph has been assigned to the AHL. Brandon Sutter of the Vancouver Canucks is gone to the IR with a lower body injury. So that's a majority of the injuries going around there, according to, all from my NHLTradeRumors.com, and some really good stuff there. But besides Pasternak, what is the biggest injury there, you think, for all the teams I mentioned? What's the next biggest injury besides David Pasternak?
Oli Mata, probably.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Mata's defense...
Their defense isn't the best to begin with.
It's not,
so.
and it hurts when you're losing a pretty quality player.
I mean, it's great that they've kept Chris Letang this healthy for this long. So.
Which honestly shocks me. He's played great this year.
I mean, knock on wood, it's probably going to happen, but
You're not
because
wrong.
he's the Penguins' equivalent of Michael Neuvert,
Yep,
at least injury-wise.
and that's fair to say. Also, Joe Thornton appeared in his 1,541st game 2 nights ago and surpassed Shane Doan and Johnny Busick for sole possession of 15th on the all-time games played list. So congratulations to Jumbo Joe right there.
Speaking of the Sharks, they are now the top in the Pacific.
They are. They are just doing
Which
fantastic.
I don't think is a surprise to much.
No, it's not.
People probably thought this at the beginning of the season with adding Carlson.
Yeah. They're a point ahead of Calgary currently, 75 points to 74. Then Vegas is 66 in
That's
third
a big
place.
drop-off.
Then it's a very big drop-off, yes.
In both. The West has just been terrible this season.
It really has been. It's
The fact that the Blues are in the playoff spot now and the Blackhawks are coming back and are also in the mix. Everyone in the West is still in
Right.
the mix.
yeah. Some waiver news. Martin Frick is on waivers for Detroit, which is interesting.
No vowels.
Huh?
No vowels.
No, yes, no valves. And Chaput clears. So, for no, that's not for Ottawa. I keep thinking of Shabbat or Shabbat. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
why am I saying Shabbat?
I don't know. Who's Chabot?
I don't know. I can't talk today.
It's a good sound coming through my headphones right now.
Yep, love it. The Bruins have recalled Carson Coleman from the AHL Bruins. So, sorry. There you go.
Providence Bruins.
Yeah, the Providence Bruins.
You
12
said
goals.
AHL Bruins.
Well, that's what that. I'm reading this from their Twitter page, and that's their. It literally just says and they tag the Bruins as from at AHL Bruins.
Yeah.
So that's what I was reading. Couldn't think of Providence for a second.
Yeah.
The Providence Bruins. Coleman is 23, 25 points with 12 goals, 13 assists, a plus 22 rating in 50 AHL games. So he'll be looking to provide a spark for the Bruins in Pasternak's absence. Also, forgot about this. Evgeny Malkin, he will be suspended for 1 game for his high stick on Philadelphia's Michael Raffle not too long ago. What? Because you obviously saw the play, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure. So, did you hear... Well, first, let me ask you this. What did you think of the high stick?
I think it was worthy of a suspension. I think the 1 game I don't know if it makes sense, but I get it being 1 game in the sense that Raffle kind of was rough and hit him in the head in the first place.
Right.
Which made him retaliate and smack him in the face with the stick.
Yes. Did you happen to hear
Yeah.
the
I
comments?
didn't hear it, but I heard it was like him saying how he was probably just going to get away with it because he always does. Pretty much.
It was something like that.
Which, he's not wrong.
Yes. I'm trying to think
'Cause-
the exact...
If you think this is obviously isn't his first time, he's kind of done this a bunch of times in his career, and mainly against people who have been able to shut him down, which
Yes.
isn't all the time. But in the few times when it does happen, he tends to get angry and does stupid things like this. We saw that in 2012 with Couturier taking a random shot at him,
Yep.
just to name another one.
But yeah, the comments that he made post game were very interesting and also a little controversial. On this is as to why.
They could have fine with it too, or just a suspension.
He has to forfeit certain amount of money.
Yeah.
It's like 65,000. Again, it's like a nickel for these players.
Is that more or less than JVR's?
Um,
Because JVR's was accidental and he got a fine for it for some reason.
that's a great question. I am looking that up right now. Because for Van Riemsdyk, he got fined $5,000. And then for Malkin, he got hit with. But due to the suspension, he has to forfeit. Here it is, 51,000 and 51,075 and $75.27. What they do. Again, that's literally nothing for, especially a star like Malkin making that much money. It's a nickel for these guys.
True.
Malkin told the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette after the game, "I know it's dirty, but I missed. He just dived, and the referee gave me 5 minutes. He wasn't injured, not bleeding, nothing. I didn't hit him in the face. If I had touched him in the face for sure, I would get suspended. It's a high stake, but it's not like I broke his face." So right away, I honestly don't like what he had to say about that. Side note, this is the first time in Malkin's career that he's been suspended. So the fact that the NHL Department of Player Safety actually suspended him for once for a dirty play, that makes me happy to see that they're actually doing something about this rather than nothing.
Which is the same with Tom Wilson. He didn't get suspended until the beginning of this year.
Exactly.
The 20 game.
So, I don't know. It's just... It's nuts.
Which he's actually kind of lucky because if the Flyers would have actually capitalized, which they didn't,
Yeah.
because that could have been a complete turnaround.
It could have been. It really could
They
have.
scored right away, but that was kind of it.
No,
They weren't able to do anything else after.
They didn't, unfortunately, score right away. I think it took them because there was just under 5 minutes left. It was a 5-minute game major.
Yeah.
Voracek misconduct.
Scored, right away. And
Really? I thought that was 2 minutes in or something like that. Okay.
He scored right away, and then they weren't able to capitalize
Right.
again.
But if
they weren't
they
able
were-
to really get a good offensive zone time.
Right, that's right. But yeah,
And then they scored.
Yes, and then that was it.
Which, if you listen to the Mike and Mitch podcast, I was right in those 3 games.
You were,
1-1-1.
and I was right in a way so far.
I think I am right though, because I think I might have also said they won last night. They would win against Minnesota, but I'm not sure on that.
I'll have to check back.
Yeah.
Because we both said I think the Flyers would split the series. Oh no, I was right because I said that the Flyers would lose this
Yeah, you'd
game
lose that
to
one, then the
Pittsburgh,
outdoor
but then they would win the outdoor game. So now we just got to wait to see what happens there. For the Flyers, next game is Saturday at home. It's a home and home series. So this first one is in Philly Saturday, 1 p.m. start, and then Sunday, 6 p.m. start at Detroit. So you can catch this.
Facing Dylan Larkin.
Yes, Dylan Larkin, who's been phenomenal for Detroit, and I think they're going to be their next captain without a doubt. For the Flyers, you can catch this game on Saturday at NHL Network, probably NBC Sports Philadelphia as well, I'd assume. Yep, that's what it is. For tomorrow's game, that's an NBC SN game, and then if you're in the car listening to the radio, you can tune into both of those games for 97.5 The Fanatic. So before we get more into the Flyers and everything, something that caught my eye here, the Anaheim Ducks, kind of going back to them, they canceled their morning skates for the remainder of the season, according to Elliot Tiford. The ice will be made available to the players, but not mandatory. What do you think about all of that?
I'm not really sure if I completely believe that, but
Right. It's just kind of interesting, that's all. Yeah. I've never seen anything like that. I'm curious on
Yeah.
why that is, but I don't know. It's just very interesting. That's all to me. Jump into the Flyers again a little bit. You
I
have
was seeing it everywhere else except for that one person that tweeted it out.
say again.
The morning skate thing. That one. I'm looking it up, and there's nothing really out there
Really?
except for that
Okay.
one story.
We'll keep an eye
And
out
I have
for
a hard
it.
time believing that's gonna stick. For the
Right,
because
because I don't get because I honestly just don't even if that would even happen, why would that be a thing? You know, I get it, like because there's a difference between mandatory
because
practices.
they're older, they feel like they want to make them more prime and ready for the game.
I
And they feel like-
guess.
even though the morning skates most of the time voluntary, so
Right. I don't know. It's bizarre. Something about Scott Gordon because he put Justin Bailey in for Mikhail Vorobiev in last night's win over the Wild. He stated before the game again, just an opportunity to take a look at him, meaning Bailey. From what I've been told, he's got great speed, back-to-back games. We could use a little speed. So that's certainly, and it almost paid off right away 6 seconds into his first shift as a Flyer. Everyone thought he scored because it looked like he redirected an Ivan Provorov shot from the point, but that actually went off of a Minnesota Wild defenseman.
they changed it 2 times.
Yeah, can never seem to get it right. But yeah, so some good stuff there, and
Can we just talk about that game a little bit?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
Specifically, Luke Cunnin.
yes,
Who had
oh
2
my God,
goals.
Cunnin has been great.
He was
Uh,
one that I would have liked to see the Flyers have drafted if they were able to. Back in 2016.
Yeah, I want to take a look.
Because Mitch was texting me during the game last night, he's like, no one on this Flyers roster would be able to take or have that great of a shot as Kunin did
Yeah,
on his first goal.
yeah, it was. He just has played a great game last night. He got 2 goals last night against Flyers. He had 24 shifts for 16 minutes and 10 seconds of total ice time. 4 shots on goal, +3. He has only 12 points though in 26 games played this season.
Yeah.
Is this his rookie season?
I guess you can say technically because he played in 17, 18, and 19 games.
Yeah, that's fair. It's hard to believe this is
He's
only
been in the AHL for the most part for the
Right.
past couple of years. After being at the University of Wisconsin.
But yeah, this year he has 12 points in 26 games, 4 goals, 8 assists. I think more points are to come.
Oh, absolutely.
I
I can kind of compare him to Nolan Patrick in a bit, is how he started out slowly point production wise last year and kind of built on
yes,
as the season went on, and he might be the same way.
yeah, for sure.
It's not everyone's like an Austin Matthews where their first game they're putting up 4 goals.
Right. But yeah, he was in that 2016 Austin Matthews Patrick Laine draft. He went 15th overall to Minnesota. So the teams that had an opportunity to grab him before Minnesota, obviously Toronto, Winnipeg, you go Matthews, Laine. Columbus took Pierre-Luc Dubois, the great pick there. Edmonton took Jesse Puljujärvi, who might be traded, might not. He's a name to watch out for. Vancouver, Olli Juolevi. Calgary got a great piece in Matthew Tkachuk. Arizona, fantastic in Clayton Keller. Buffalo, Alex Nylander. Montreal, 9th overall, Mikhail Sergachev. But then they, remember, traded him for Jonathan Drouin. Colorado drafted Tyson Jost, who actually just got called up by Colorado.
I was wrong. McAvoy was the 2016 draft, right before Luke Cunnin.
Yes, McAvoy was 14. 13, Carolina took Jake Bean. New Jersey took...
That's when the Flyers took German Rubstov.
Yes, at 22nd overall. They had the 21st pick, but then they went back.
Yeah.
Carolina grabbed Julien Gauthier.
Gauthier.
I always get that wrong. You kind of looking back now at that draft in general, the Flyers had an interesting draft. So they draft Rubisov, 22nd overall. Pascal LeBerge, 36 overall. Carter Hart, 48th overall. Wade Allison, 52nd overall. And then you have eventually Carson Torensky, 82nd overall. Connor Bunneman, Linus Hogberg, Tanner Lazinski, 6th-round pick, and David Bernhardt. So you have quite some names that are out there that are, I think, some good names from that draft. Obviously, Carter Hart tops them all, but besides Hart, Lazinski...
At the moment, he does.
Huh?
At the moment, true.
Yes. Well, at least like out of the Flyers picks.
True.
You have Lazinski and Torensky. I think those two could be exceptional players for the Flyers further down the road as well. Quick update for the standings. The Islanders are still first in the Metro. Second with 72 points. Second place, the Washington Capitals, 69 points. With the Columbus Blue Jackets in third place now, 67 points. You have Tampa Bay, 88 points, still running away with the league. Toronto, 15 points behind the 15.
Now, what I just realized, though,
What's
looking
that?
at these standings, there are two teams who have not gone to the shootout this season. Look at Toronto, 0-0 shootout.
Wow.
And that is the same with Dallas as well.
Also Ottawa.
Yeah. I didn't even see that. Yeah, Ottawa, too.
Wow, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. St. Louis has only been in one, same as Colorado. But that's just, I was just thinking of Toronto mainly because just imagine that team.
Right. New York, the Rangers have been in 8. They're 6-2.
That's weird. The Flyers have barely been any this year.
And it really is. And they're 2-1. Let's see here.
Yeah, the last one against it, L.A.
Yes. Yeah, that was the tough one.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto, they are second in the Atlantic with 73 points, a point ahead. Boston, who is third. Then the wild card spots, Montreal is 69 points, Pittsburgh 65. Closely behind those teams, though, that I would really consider still in the mix. Carolina and Buffalo, 64 points and 63 points. Flyers, they're getting there, but they're still falling behind. I think regardless, they're still not going to make the playoffs, unfortunately.
No.
Despite that great 8-game win streak and, what was it, 10-point game streak or whatever?
Point streak, yeah.
Yeah, it's not
you
enough.
gain so much ground, but you lose.
Exactly.
Once you lose, you start losing it as well.
The Rangers, they're 3 points behind them. Florida's 5, Detroit's 8, New Jersey 9.
Out of those three, the Flyers are probably the end of the possibility.
Yeah,
of
I
just
think
making
that where the cutoff is
it.
Carolina and Buffalo.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I hate saying that, but that's really where we're looking at right now. Realistically, I think Carolina or Buffalo can knock Pittsburgh and or Montreal out of the playoffs.
I don't know about Buffalo. Buffalo's kind of fallen off since
They have,
their
but this
winning
is
streak.
why it's important for them this upcoming trade deadline on the 25th to add a very big piece. Maybe they might be a team to look to acquire a Wayne Simmons. I don't know what they would give up because regardless of who you are, you would have to give up quite a bit.
You already know Carolina's willing to give up a lot.
Yeah.
Looking towards the West now.
Yes, thank you. Looking towards the West, Winnipeg is in front, 75 points in the Central, followed behind the Nashville Predators, 71 points, and the Dallas Stars, 63. So, Stars, they're turning things around. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10.
We mentioned the Pacific a little while ago.
Yep, we did do that.
The wild card of St. Louis and Minnesota.
Yep, St. Louis, 61 points, Minnesota, 59.
And
now,
as I said before, literally every team in the West is still there.
I would honestly, you're not wrong at all.
Mathematically and everything. Yeah.
Even LA and Anaheim,
even if you look at St. Louis, who is at the bottom of the league for almost all this season,
they won 8 straight as well.
Exactly.
But my thing is that even teams looking at point wise, like LA and Anaheim, they have 51 points. They're only 8 points out of.
But they're giant
Minnesota.
losing streak and not doing very well. Is
Yes.
kind of keeping
Anaheim's lost 7 in a row.
Yeah.
So that really doesn't help.
It's not that. It's also if you look overall for a long
Right,
time,
right.
they've only won like a handful of games,
Yeah, for sure.
which is surprising why it took until the Flyers game to finally fire their coach.
Yes, it was mind-boggling for sure. Chicago, they've turned things around a bit. There's
Mostly because of Kane's point streak.
yes,
15
they're only
points.
4 points out of a playoff spot now, which is hard to believe. Same thing with Arizona and Colorado. Colorado,
You
they
could
have
possibly
fallen
say getting
off.
Dylan Strome probably helped that.
And Strome has
I don't know if it's really been something that I don't know how well he's really played for the team, but you could probably say that's the start from when they made the trades and everything that they started turning around.
well. My thing is for Strome. Here he has 37 points this year in 53 games. He's done amazing since coming to Chicago. Literally, look at his. He's a point in his last 5 games. He overall. He has 10 points in his last 5 games. Their last, so starting with Minnesota, February 2nd, he had 2 assists. In Edmonton's game, he had a goal. Vancouver, 3 assists.
Those
Detroit,
are all on Chicago.
what's up?
Those are all on Chicago. The 31 points these guys through Chicago.
Yes.
On Chicago. He only had 6 points before them.
Yeah, but he's just tore it up though since coming to Chicago, and I think they're seeing his true potential, and I think the fact that he's on the line with Alex DeBrincat, that is just because it's that chemistry they really had during their time with the Erie Otters,
Yeah.
and they're taking advantage of it for sure.
He's lucky I've been calling him a bust for a while.
Yep. I can tell you're still not entirely sold on Strome here.
Not completely.
He's certainly making a case, though, I think.
Sure.
But obviously it helps that...
If it's something that continues to next season.
yes, then
So
we can
what?
start
Yeah.
talking more, yeah.
He only puts up 16 points in his few seasons in Arizona.
Yeah.
2 seasons. Not a lot.
No, definitely not, but glad to see him, doing something there.
And then 48 games.
Yes.
But I think we can kind of move over back towards the Flyers.
Yes,
now.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
You mentioned something to me last night on Ghosts kind of struggling. and
yes. Yeah, I definitely want to bring this up. So, Shayne Gostisbehere, and I'll let you go ahead with your opinion first. I don't know, but we've been talking and we've kind of both noticed that Gostisbehere has been struggling rather greatly, actually. Would you say lately or just throughout the season he's just struggled?
I'd say lately.
Lately, yeah, no, it's definitely fair to say. I'm not sure exactly like what's going on. What are your thoughts? Because he's been just playing sloppy. He had a big turnover, which led to the second goal in last night's win against Minnesota. What are your thoughts about him?
He might still be hurt.
That's definitely
'Cause
possible.
The first few games back from the All-Star break, he was hurt.
That's right.
He had a lower body injury.
I honestly forgot about that.
I don't think it's a tiredness thing because the All-Star break wasn't that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that would have been able to give him some time off. And obviously the next couple of days not playing again until Saturday might help.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's one of those things where maybe if he scores, that might be it. Or if he's out for a game or two where he sees it from a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I said to you last night, too.
Yeah. I
And,
certainly.
obviously, confidence issue because another thing that happened was in the Pittsburgh game near the end, he fumbled the puck trying to do a wrist shot and everything. So,
Yeah, he's just.
and he's just not as accurate on the net. He's
Right.
just kind of firing at nothing at this point.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
Or maybe the trade rumors. are
Right,
coming
and
to
I
him.
think that's definitely possible.
What do you think?
Yeah. I think it's Because it kind of reminds me of what Ivan Provorov was going through throughout the season. Because lately, Provorov, and we can talk more about him in a little bit, has found his game again. For Gostisbehere, he's just kind of gone the opposite way. Like where he started off relatively strong and has been struggling lately. And excuse me. Maybe it is the fact that he could still be hurt because he was a late scratch in the Flyers Winnipeg game that was on Monday a couple of weeks ago, and he got bruised up or something. It was a lower body injury, but he could still be hurt from that. But again, there's just been some trade rumors swirling around his name that might be getting to him a little bit more, where he's gripping that stick a little too much.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that I think that's more of the case, is where he just needs to settle down. Because, going back to what Chuck Fletcher said not too long ago, basically everybody is available except for Claude Giroux.
If you're a person into advanced stats, his advanced stats aren't terrible.
Right. What are those?
What?
For his advanced stats, if you have them?
Corsi at even strength, it's a 52.2, which is higher than it was last year at 51.5. But it's significantly down 894 and 818 for and against, which is pretty much just
right
for when the team had the puck. They were
Okay.
mostly in the offensive zone.
Okay. Yeah, it's tough to say.
And if you're looking at his defensive zone stuff and everything, for offensive or whatever the zone starts, 44% of the time he's defensively, offensively 55% of the time, which is about the same where it was last year.
Right, and it sounds about right.
I think it might just be the stats might be the thing, his scoring, that might not be it, because everyone's used to him being able to do that slap shot of his.
Right. Or just do something. Yeah,
right.
But lately his shots have been going wide,
Exactly.
and he's not looking like his usual self. Not entirely sure why that is. So it's just I'm just curious
What
about it.
sucks for him is that if Fletcher starts thinking of he's not as safe as some, or
right.
if he keeps playing this way either.
Exactly.
Because Fletcher has no love luster for him or anything, because he's never had him before.
Yeah.
He obviously knows the potential of him from last year and everything else, what he's been able to put up points-wise and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's... But if he's not producing as well and you can possibly get something good from him, then Fletcher might make the move on him.
Yep. And I think you definitely...
And I guess I can also put it at this point, too. The trade rumors one would be is until after the trade deadline, if you start seeing him progressing, which is until the end of the month.
Right.
But you can kind of go back towards NBA-wise, if follow that, or people who listen who would follow that, and that the Lakers, if you didn't hear, were trying to trade for Anthony Davis.
Yes.
And LeBron, what it's going to trade like all these guys for him. And like the game before the trade deadline, they were terrible. And no one would sit next to. If you see the picture, it's LeBron sitting on one side of the hole, other team sitting against all the way on the other side of the bench.
Awesome.
And then the next game they're playing well, because that stress of them not being traded is gone.
Yes, exactly. So I think you definitely do have a point.
So maybe that could be it, because that is something that happens to people. Kind of like if there's a contract year, maybe that kind of makes people struggle. I think Voracek, you can kind of say, was that way before his contract year. That's kind of psychological or sports psychology kind of thing for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it really is.
You hope he finds his game soon, which if it's kind of like Lindblom, where he also struggled for most of the season. Obviously trying to find before, or try not to be in the fourth line and everything, but once he scored that his first goal of lately, he started turning out.
He has.
And I wonder if that could be the same thing for Ghost.
I think
that is
so.
a weapon for him, is once he can actually get that point streak going.
Yeah, and kind of like that monkey off the back type
he
thing.
only has 5 goals this season. He has 25 points, but most of that's assists, 20 assists.
Yeah. And then kind of like for Lindblom, like what you said is, he was struggling for a little while, and he finally got a goal, and he's been pretty great since then.
And and the Penguins game, the line was Giroux, Couturier, and Lindblom. That
Yeah.
says a lot.
It really does.
It also helps that that they were but he was in the Phantoms for a while too. So
it was because
Scott
you have
Gordon has seen it before.
yes, exactly, and a lot of these players have been with
Yeah.
Scott Gordon. He knows their potential and knows what they're like. And something that is interesting, actually, this is brought up in last night's broadcast. The Flyers, they're tied for like the second youngest team in the NHL behind
Tied
Winnipeg.
with Winnipeg.
Or tied with Winnipeg,
Tied
or
with
right behind them.
Winnipeg. One behind. Vancouver, I think it is.
Probably.
But it's like a point. Like
Yeah,
one.
not but
It's
literally
very
but like
similar.
0.1.
I mean, that's what happens when you send down Dale Weiss and
Yes.
Rory Laterra.
Speaking of which, I don't think we talked about
We did
that. Dale Weiss
and Christian Folin.
and Christian
Riddell.
Folin. If you're wondering where they were, in case you didn't watch last night's game or the game against Pittsburgh, they are now in Montreal.
Right, just kind of been living under a rock for Flyers
Yes.
news of late.
So, yeah, that's certainly big for the Flyers because that clears up some
Not a lot.
some cap space in exchange for David Schlemko and Byron Freeze, and so that just helps the Flyers there because you don't have Fallen. He's been terrible
Not
for the
particularly.
Flyers.
Particularly. Where is he?
Yeah, but not only that, but you do have
Okay, so it's a little they took some money back on the
Fallen.
Folin
Yeah.
because Weiss is 235 a year and Schlemko was what 2.1.
2.1, yes. And then you
But they
have
kind of 8 Folins or whatever, just kind of make it seem kind
right,
of even.
and then you have Freeze, who's 650,000,
Yeah.
and he's a UFA, so that's a tiny bit of cash back. But Schlemko, he's 31. He's currently in the minors. I don't have a big problem with him. I think he'll
He's just a better seventh defenseman than Craig.
exactly. I think he'll be serviceable, more serviceable than Folin. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but since the Flyers were on such a long point streak, they didn't really feel a need to change the roster too much.
Right.
Obviously, Fletcher must have seen something fourth line-wise that he wanted to change up.
Yes.
Obviously, changing from Weiss and Laterra was
Big.
obviously anyone can see that. But
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
when you see,
But the fact that he was able to do that and actually
well, also just seeing the Vrony, Robiev, and Rafa one, just kind of
Yes.
changing that out of kind of random too. Because the Bailey trade just kind of when he got caught up, I just kind of thought there was another trade in the works.
right. Yeah, and Bailey, he's certainly earned the promotion, and he's trying to take full advantage of it for sure. But I think that the Flyers,
Well, he's fourth line wise.
yes,
He's
fourth,
a big body that's fast.
yes,
That's kind of what most teams have their fourth line as right now.
right,
Instead of that like goon line that people know of, it's more of the speed, and,
hmm
which I want to say kind of started with Columbus a couple years ago with Sam Gagner and them.
yes,
I don't know if that's when it started, but that's when I kind of noticed it more. Or at least a successful fourth line, which wasn't the usual.
right. The usual like
Mhm.
scrub players. Yeah. No, I think that's definitely fair to say. Sam Gagner,
Like the Van de Velde, Belmar. And,
yes, Labimov.
Labimov,
Oh boy.
Yeah.
But I think it did start kind of with Sam
Yeah.
Gagner, and that's what kind of changed the momentum
Mhm.
of realizing,
Because
hey,
people thought of Gagner as like, you can't put him on the fourth line. He's on a fourth line center.
right?
Well, now he's in the AHL, but
Yes.
still, he was a guy like, no, he's a guy that has to be in like your top 6, 9 maybe.
Yeah, but the Flyers.
But
The-
now you can kind of put him in your fourth line.
Yeah.
Kind of feel
Then,
fine with it.
because this was what, like 3 years ago, maybe 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something like that. But
Still, I think Columbus might have won the playoff series, but lost to Pittsburgh again.
I don't think they have won.
Or maybe they just lost to Pittsburgh.
They probably just lost to Pittsburgh.
Again.
Yes. I am curious about that, though.
I just remember that being successful fourth line.
Yes. Which season? Yeah. In their last three, out of their 5 seasons, they made the playoffs.
It might have been when the Penguins first won their Stanley Cup.
It was. They lost to the Penguins in 2013-14 in the first round. That was the Kings that won the Cup that year. They didn't make the playoffs for 2 years in a row. Then they lost to the Penguins. This is the second time the Penguins went on to win the Cup. And then they lost to the Caps in the first round, and they went on to win the Cup.
Then it must have been the one before, or the second time they played the Penguins.
Yeah. The second time that they played the Penguins was 2016-17, which is the Penguins' second Cup. The first time was like 2014.
Right after the Flyers had gone.
Yes. Yeah, it's...
Which now you see with the Flyers now fourth line.
Right, it's actually a good fourth line.
Sure. Because now you don't have... None of these lines really have an anchor that you would say you had with Weiss.
Right.
Or Laterra, where their speed... I mean, the Flyers don't have great speed, but...
It's
their
definitely
lack
better.
Of speed kind
yes.
of kept them from being able to do well, and obviously offensive abilities and everything.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And the Flyers...
Which I was wrong about. I did not think the Flyers... I thought the Flyers would have to buy out Dale Weiss.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought. And that's why I'm, was thrilled with this trade. And
which now makes me think...
Yes.
Well, next season they'll probably...
buy out McDonald.
Yeah. Because they'll just let Laterra's contract run out, and they might just buy out McDonald.
Yeah, because he'll after this season, he only has one more year left, and then he's a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a...
And if
yeah,
you believe Fletcher and that he wants to bring in big free agents to spend money and everything, that's also coming up from the higher-ups, too, which unfortunately came in Minnesota. If you're when they signed Suter and Parise,
yes,
that was the same thing there. The heads up wanted big guys here, and which is why they signed those 2 big guys,
right?
2 big contracts, which could be the same for the Flyers. I hope Carlson.
Yes.
If we're doing that, I'd take Carlson.
I mean, hey, go big or go home.
Duchesne. Duchesne might be a likely one.
Here's an interesting one because I was actually just reading about this. What about a possible candidate like Charlie Coyle? Still relatively young, can put up some points. He's 26. He's a big body. Another 6'3", 220-pound center. My only thing is that as much as I would like for him to go to the Flyers, I don't think there's really room unless you make him your fourth-line center, and I don't think he would be thrilled with that.
He's already making $3.2 million.
Yeah.
He's got 2 more years left.
Yeah, for something like that. Because he's
saying
put...
trade-wise he'd get Charlie Coyle?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, not free agent, but just trade-wise, yeah. Because it was... Scott Cullen of The Athletic posted a little picture of, or a little section of an article he wrote, and where it says trade bait Charlie Coyle. So that got me thinking of, yeah. But I'm not entirely sure what Minnesota would, or a team like them would do.
Yeah, I don't know.
Overall,
I don't know how high they are on them. I don't know if he's even on the board or on the block.
Right. You'd be surprised. There are some names for sure that are out there that are definitely out there on the block that others might not even think about. Mm-hmm. But for Minnesota, they're 2 points out of the first playoff spot. Wild card spot. And in their division, they are 5th in the Central.
There was also something you brought up to me before we got on the podcast about Scott Gordon.
Yes.
That Carchidi or someone.
Yes, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, so Sam Carchidi brought up a rather interesting point, going back again to the Flyers, where he said the more you see how the Flyers play for the analytical Scott Gordon, the more you wonder if he'll be an NHL head coach beyond this season. If the Flyers don't hire him, I think someone else will. And I honestly agree with Sam Carchidi here for the fact that... So I don't know if the Flyers will make Gordon their official head coach, but he has had head coach experience in the NHL before, and even as a head coach and assistant coach, he was the head coach for the Islanders from 2008 to 2011, and then on June 20th, 2011, the Maple Leafs hired him as an assistant coach under head coach Ron Wilson. Later in the season, the Maple Leafs fired Wilson and hired Randy Carlyle as his replacement, keeping Gordon on as assistant. However, Gordon was later fired after the 2013-14 season. And then since then, he's been the head coach for the Phantoms and, of course, now the interim head coach for the Flyers.
I'd still rather Q.
Yes.
For being honest here. I think the Flyers heads up would probably rather Q because more people will come in.
Oh, for sure.
That's the whole reason why Hextall was fired is because no one was coming to the games anymore.
No.
But I don't know. The Flyers are kind of boring at times too. They do the thing that the Lightning used to do. They play the trap, the 1-3-1, and I hate it.
That does annoy me.
I hate it. Every team that sees that should do what Chris Pronger did against the Lightning. Just sit behind your.
That was Coburn.
Was it Coburn?
Yeah.
That was Pronger.
But yeah, no, I agree. Just sit there. But the only problem is with that is the refs kept blowing the whistle because they weren't doing anything. They were just standing there with the puck. Technically has to be moving.
Right.
But yeah, no, I get that. But no, I think
the NFL's version of prevent defense.
Yes,
I hate it.
But I think that's a good point though. Is going back to Gordon though, if the Flyers don't hire him, then they should go all in for Quenneville because think about it. Let's say if Carlson becomes a free agent, hey, want to play for Joel Quenneville? Here's your chance.
Sure. Obviously, just getting a long look from
Fletcher
Scott Gordon, but
and rightfully so. I think he's deserved an opportunity.
Sure,
but
if
the
you look
thing
at
is,
first couple month or so with him, it wasn't going well for him.
Right, it wasn't. But
the Flyers were still struggling, and
because they're adapting to his system and everything. But excuse me, I'm not sure what the Flyers are going to do. I think it would make more. It's tough because I would like to see Gordon still be the head coach, but realistically, it would probably be better if Quenneville came here because he's more of a proven coach, of course.
Sure. And
he can definitely bring in some of these bigger name free agents. Like, for example, look what
you'll bring people to games too.
Exactly. Like for example, Mike Babcock when he went to Toronto. Now he has John Tavares.
Exactly.
So
also, John Tavares would make more money in Toronto
than
he would in New York.
New York, for sure.
Because Toronto is like advertising-wise, kind of like here, but with NFL players. How they're everywhere. Up there, it's hockey players.
Fair enough.
So John Tavares is everywhere. So he's probably making just as much money in promotion stuff, promoting stuff, than he is with this contract, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a fun little run to see with the Flyers. I don't know if it's something that will continue.
Right.
Because if we look at the Flyers schedule.
Yes, we can do that. Something, while we bring up the Flyers schedule, something I just remembered, Chuck Fletcher did announce publicly that Carter Hart will remain with the Flyers for the remainder of the season. And, of course, whenever...
He also said that he would go to the
Phantoms
if the Flyers are out of the playoffs.
Which will most likely happen.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. Seen crazier things happen, but it's very, very unlikely. But the Flyers, the rest of the month, they have Detroit at home and home series against them, Tampa Bay in Montreal, the Stadium Series against the Penguins, home against Buffalo, the first game after the deadline, and then finish out the month in Columbus.
I kind of have a hard feeling they get another streak going right away.
Yes.
They have some tough opponents.
They really do, because looking at March, they played the Islanders 3 times, right? Yes, only 3 times, but still 3 times in a month against the best team in the Metro, according to the standings.
Mm-hmm.
The Caps, they play 3 times.
Yep.
They play Pittsburgh again, Toronto twice, play Carolina once.
Tampa Bay on Tuesday. Next Tuesday.
Yes, sorry, I'm focusing on March
I know,
right
I'm
now.
just
But yeah,
saying
there's a big game there. Buffalo, that's going to be a relatively important game.
Chicago's hot right now.
Chicago is hot, yes.
The Flyers-Rangers games are always close.
Yes, they are. Always have a nice spark.
And then
They close out the season in Dallas, then St. Louis, and then come back home for the final season game of the season against Carolina.
choose right outside on the playoff cusp. And also, the Flyers lately have not been able to beat Carolina.
Which, for some reason, I have no idea why.
Also, Montreal, who...
Yes, Montreal for sure.
Even though we already beat them once, but still.
Yes, but still, they're in playoff contention right now.
Columbus, too.
Columbus has always been difficult for the Flyers for some reason.
Well, right, yeah. And also,
Excuse me.
They're doing well right now.
And that too, they're third in the Metro.
Yeah, they're doing well right now.
Yeah, but other than that, there's it's going to be a tough stretch for the Flyers. They got to prove themselves. I think realistically, you could see Hart getting a
I'd probably say...
good chunk until Elliott comes back.
I don't think it's wrong to say in a month from now. Let's say, what's today's date?
Today's the 13th of February.
A month from now to the March, like right those 2 back-to-back games against Washington and Toronto.
Yes.
I'd say by then you know if the Flyers are in the playoffs or not.
I think so too. So in the meantime, you have 1, 2.
And that's just them still being in the hunt then, not them actually being in the playoffs.
You have 12 games until March 13th. And the 12 games to prove, hey, we're in this, or show, hey, we're unfortunately not
That's
in
also
this.
after their trade deadline too.
That is. And that's
And what they do. I still think there'll be sellers.
yes. And that's 7 games after the deadline. So that will be interesting for sure to see what happens with the Flyers. But other than
won't see
that,
Simmons here anymore.
Hmm?
You probably won't see Simmons.
I
here.
honestly don't think so. I think the last game that the Flyers will see Wayne Simmons in is that outdoor game against the Penguins.
Especially if you hear some of his comments or Fletcher's comments lately about Simmons, it kind of seems like he's gonna be gone.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Actually, no. Here's the other thing:
Yes.
is a ghost trade a trade deadline trade, or is ghost trade a end of season trade?
I could see it
Because
more.
I forget where I heard it, but I remember people talking about how, I don't know if, or maybe it was Mitch that said, my brother, for those of you who don't know, but that said, if that's more of a off-season kind of trade, like
Right.
big, kind of like the JV or the Jeff Carter and Mike Richards
Yes.
trade, that kind of thing.
On June 23rd? Is it going to happen that day?
I don't know. But you know what I mean.
Yes, and I know. But honestly, that I think the way that you're putting that, it could
Because
very
big
well.
trades do happen during the off-season, too.
Right. I think that
Or
will
have been
be
known to.
the type of trade. If Shayne Gostisbehere were to be traded, I think it would be more likely to have him traded in the off season than
Right.
by the deadline.
But if he gets a good deal for him, he might.
Exactly.
Which then might negate what I said earlier about Ghost, and that after the trade deadline, that might
Yes.
go away from him, but still.
So we shall see.
Yeah, I think that's where we're gonna wrap
Yep.
it up.
That will do it. But again, the Flyers they have a home and a home series against the Detroit Red Wings coming up. The first one Saturday at 1 p.m. You can catch that game on the radio, 97.5 The Fanatic, or if you're at home watching, you can watch that on NBC Sports Philadelphia and also NHL Network. And then Sunday, the Flyers are back at it in Detroit. 6 p.m. start, NBC SN or 97.5 The Fanatic. But for us, that'll do it. Thank you so much for listening to Light the Lamp podcast number 2. And we'll be looking forward to getting more out sooner rather than later. And also
here, listen up for if you want to subscribe to the Mike and Mitch podcast too. If you want to hear more of what ramblings of me and Jeff too, who's
and
on
me
there all the time. So
when I get there. So,
yeah.
but other than that, thanks for listening. So long, and have a good one.